Hey Maura. Um, first of all, just to get the arm thing out of the way, um, I think I'm pretty sure I went over this in class like 2 weeks ago, but for the IK thing, you should just be able to put your IK handles under the master controller, and that will make them stay in relation to the master controller. Um, and hopefully also with your root controller. Your rig looks like it's working the way it's supposed to, by the way, so I don't think there's anything else you have to be worried about. I just wanted to check this out randomly. Cool. Yeah, so for the scale thing, oh, yeah, and by the way, this has nothing to do with scale, but these should also be under your master control, too. All your controllers should. So what's happening with the scale is that you have all of your animation controls under the master controller, like they should be. But the problem is that none of your joints get scaled up with it either, because parent constraint or orient constraint just controls translation or rotation. Now we could try putting all the joints under the master control, in which case everything's still going to work, and your skeleton will scale up. But now the problem is that the geometry isn't going to scale because, same exact problem, all your geometry is attached via parent constraints, except for, this part and this part. And therefore, that's not going to get scaled up either unless you go through and put a scale constraint onto all of your geometry. So basically, you'd have to go through and put a scale constraint onto everything, all these groups that you have that have a parent constraint. But you'd have to put the same whatever controller they're attached to. So if this whole hand is parented to the wrist, then you'd have to take the wrist, then grab the hand, and then do a scale constraint. Oh, I forgot to say maintain offset. And now everything will have a blue mark on it. Everything will work normally, and then you will also technically be able to scale up. Which is why, that will work, but honestly, that's the reason why on my rig I just skinned every single piece of geometry. So, to skin this, I would just grab the chest joint and then this, and then say bind skin, and just do use selected joints only, bind skin. Now this is going to have all of those attributes because of its being skinned, is automatically going to follow that joint through all circumstances. And then I can grab this joint and this thing, skin, I just hit G since that was the last thing I did. Then grab this joint and this joint. In fact, I think you can actually, with skinning, you can actually select multiple pieces of geometry at the same time, because you can't skin geometry to other geometry, so it's all just going to look at this one joint and say, okay, we're all going to be skinned to this one joint that you had selected when you hit the skin button. Now I broke that a little bit because you have a constraint and a skin, but technically, yeah, I kind of broke it a little bit because you already had all this constrained, and then I also skinned it. But at least I think that's the reason why, unless there's something else I'm missing here. But so yeah, it's up to you whether you want to go through and put a scale constraint on all of those groups of geometry, or whether you want to delete all those constraints and instead of parent constraining your geometry to the joint, you instead skin it. But either way will technically work. And then you can still have your joints under the master controller, and everything will come along. Everything should still work the same way. It's just that you have to deal with the geometry. So that's pretty much it. Let me know if you have any questions.